Surjit Singh Chhokar, one night in November 1998, he was returning home from work and he'd parked his car outside his girlfriend's house. He was attacked by three men, David Montgomery, Andrew Coulter and Ronnie Coulter. A lead-filled baton was used upon him and he was stabbed repeatedly and he died at the scene.
Tell us please about your brother. What sort of guy was he?
He was a very nice guy. Happy, outgoing, very, very nice. Charming. Loving.
Can you think of any reason why anyone would want to kill him, Manjeet?
We don't know. That's what we want to find out, why he was murdered.
March 1999 was the first trial, and I was at my mother's in Liverpool, and I was watching the news. This case explodes. Ronnie Coulter had been found not guilty, been acquitted. He'd walked from the courtroom, smirking into his family's arms.
Nothing's been done. All three men are walking on the streets happily. If they think they haven't murdered my brother, they can give my brother back.
At that point, I decided I need to go back to Glasgow and try and speak to this family and see if I could help.
We want those three men to come to court and be sentenced.
Three white men were implicated in the death of 32-year-old Surjit Singh Chhokar, but only one ever went to court.
Why, when you have three men, would you not put them all in the dock together? Of course, what happens? Ronnie Coulter comes to court. Classic defence. It wasn't me. It was them two that were responsible. The position of the Crown was all over the place. Mrs. Chhokar, she said to me, son, and I still remember, how long do you think this will take? And I stupidly and naively, without as much legal experience as I have now, I said, Auntie, called her Auntie, I said, 6 to 12 months. They said, right, we'll give you a chance, son. Let's see what you can do. I'd been told by my lawyers when I started law that I needed to keep my nose clean and keep my head down and not get into trouble and not get involved in any controversial campaigns. Of course, I put that advice to the side and got stuck in.
I have a lot of things that I want to say today, but my heart is full of pain. The support that the community and the organisations have given and the unity that they have given has helped to ease some of this pain.
We started the launch of the campaign. It was, at that stage in my career, the biggest press conference I've ever done. I was nervous. I had a huge responsibility to deliver for the family. Number one demand is justice for the two remaining men to be brought to trial. At that stage, we know Ronnie Coulter can never be tried again.
When Surjit Singh Chhokar was attacked and brutally murdered, allegedly by three white men, to most people, a racial motive would have come to mind.
I spoke at that time, which I wouldn't do without evidence now, about racism. A system of justice in Scotland was in denial.
Whilst we do not say it was definitely a racist attack, the family has a right to know whether it was considered a motive, and if so, how was it investigated and how was it discounted?
We don't see colour. Because you don't see colour, you deny the colour. You deny the experiences and you don't treat the people on the basis of their needs.
The way the family has been treated is a main concern of this campaign.
Even when it came to the first trial, no one told them the trial was happening. What it took was a member of the public who was a customer to come into their shop and say, there it is in the newspaper, it's going to start. So nobody from the Crown got in touch, nobody from the police got in touch. They sat in that courtroom every single day, and every single day no one bothered to come to speak to them, to tell them what was happening, and they couldn't understand what was going on.
A number of years we have been told that interpreters should be provided in all situations like this, and they are completely failing in their duty.
It was a steep learning curve, very much. And I know at that time, I took the anger of the Chhokar family and it became my anger. 2 years later, after Surjit's death, a second trial took place in which Andrew Coulter and David Montgomery put on trial. The family at that time knew that this was the last chance. One trial had already failed. This was the second trial. If this failed, then there would never ever be justice.
Today, a crime has been committed in this courtroom in the name of justice. Three men were accused of murdering Surjit Singh Chhokar on the 4th of November 1998. Yet for the second time in 2 years, no one has been found guilty of his murder.
I remember when the verdict came through and our head just went down.
There are two systems of justice at work in this country. One for whites and a very different one for black people and the poor. The Chhokar family do not believe that they would have been treated this way had their son been white.
I was full of rage, but it was the rage that Mr. and Mrs. Chhokar and Manjeet had in the room.
The family is demanding an independent public inquiry into the Crown and the police's conduct in this case, as well as the manner in which they investigate such attacks on black people in Scotland.
I was a trainee at the time. I was just in my first year of traineeship. And institutional racism was at the heart of what had happened to Surjit Singh Chhokar. Monumental incompetence, but institutional racism.
The verdict is an indictment of the state of the Crown Office and the police. Fundamental errors, professional incompetence, failure of leadership. The real verdict is one of institutional racism.
No other lawyer in this country had ever dared to say, let alone a trainee lawyer, had dared to say that on the steps of the High Court, condemning the process, condemning the trial, condemning the verdict, condemning the Crown Office, condemning the Lord Advocate, condemning the police.
We cannot trust the judiciary, the police, the prosecution service to protect our people. Surjit was murdered because he was black, but his family was betrayed by a system because of the colour of their skin. We hope that real change does take place because our community is tired of grieving at gravesides. Thank you.
It was heartbreaking because there was a part of me that felt, could I have done more? What now?